Chapter 2 The Ancient Evil, Dian Wei. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Congratulations, Master. You've summoned the top military commander of the late Han Dynasty, the Ancient Terror, Dian Wei. The system's announcement caught Ning Fan by surprise. He hadn't expected Dian Wei, the legendary close-quarters combat master. Cao Cao's personal bodyguard, fiercely loyal and exceptionally skilled, but tragically killed by Xianxia's ambush in the Battle of Wancheng because of Cao Cao's own shortcomings. Master, do you want to view Dian Wei's stats? Yes. Ning Fan was eager to see what he was working with. He remembered in his past life that some online rankings had Dian Wei as the third most powerful general of the Three Kingdoms, but he lacked truly defining battles. Compared to Guan Yu and Zhang Fei, he wasn't as widely celebrated. Ning Fan wasn't sure who was strongest, but he knew one thing: Dian Wei was easily a top 5 contender in the entire Three Kingdoms. Name: Dian Wei. Loyalty: fanatical. Strength: 98. Intelligence: 68. Leadership: 79. Politics: 60. Army: none. Weapons: large double halberds, throwing hand axes, long sword, unique skill, 5-step deadly axe throw. Special abilities: godly strength, natural brute strength, +2 to strength, guardian, when protecting the Lord, +1 to +3 strength, randomly. Note: Dian Wei, nearly unmatched, intensely loyal, brave, and honorable. Perfect for guarding. Ning Fan was astonished after seeing Dian Wei's stats. The system could actually quantify a person's abilities like this. That made it easier to put people in roles where they'd excel. A total strength of 100 with those special abilities. That's unreal. He's practically reached the peak of martial prowess. System: where is Dian Wei now? Dian Wei will pledge his loyalty within the next 24 hours, Master. Ning Fan nodded. According to the system, these summoned officials and generals all had backstories and identities within this world. They were essentially living, breathing people, with the same personalities and talents they had in their past lives. They were all flesh and blood, not just tools to be used. System: where's the marrow cleansing and bone strengthening pill? It's been placed in the system's inventory, Master. Do you want to retrieve it? Yes, retrieve it. Ning Fan focused his mind on the system's inventory, which looked like a two-dimensional grid, with each cell being a cubic meter of independent space, good for storing items. It was kind of like the magic rings in those fantasy novels he used to read. Marrow cleansing and bone strengthening pill. This will change my aptitude for martial arts. My body's too weak right now. Ning Fan picked up the jade bottle, popped it open, and saw a round, crystal-clear pill. Without hesitation, he tossed it in his mouth and swallowed it whole. The pill dissolved instantly, and a warm sensation spread from his throat through his body, down to his limbs. Ning Fan felt an itch all over, not knowing where to scratch, until a foul odor filled his nose and mouth, and his clothes were drenched in sweat. A layer of black gunk seeped out of his skin, covering his entire body, almost making him gag. Someone. Your Highness. Lin Yong, the butler, who had been waiting outside, rushed in and bowed respectfully. Your Highness, what is it? Get some hot water ready. I need to bathe and change. Yes, Your Highness. Lin Yong frowned at the stench, but upon realizing it was coming from the prince, he bowed quickly and retreated silently. Doesn't seem like much has changed yet. My skin feels smoother, though, and maybe a bit lighter. My body's a little more flexible, too. Ning Fan inspected himself and headed to the bedroom. With the help of several maids, Ning Fan took a hot bath and put on clean clothes. He was about to start studying 13 deadly shots, when Lin Yong hurried in. Your Highness, there's a giant of a man outside the door. He says he's here to pledge his loyalty, as ordered. Oh. Ning Fan was surprised. Could it be Dian Wei? Let him in. Yes, Your Highness. Ning Fan sat in the hall, hearing the clatter of footsteps. Lin Yong appeared, leading in a burly man. The man saw Ning Fan sitting on the dais and saluted. "Your Highness, he's here." "Alright, Uncle Lin, you can leave us." "But, Your Highness." "It's fine." Ning Fan waved his hand. "He's one of us. No need to worry." "Yes, Your Highness." Lin Yong glanced at Dian Wei, bowed silently, and left, Ning Fan's eyes fixed on Dian Wei, who stood over 7 feet tall, with exposed chest muscles, thick arms, fierce eyes, and dark skin. The man radiated an aura of pure, simple strength. "Dian Wei, reporting for duty, Lord." "Ha ha ha. I got you." Finally, Ning Fan laughed, personally helping Dian Wei to his feet, patting him on the shoulder. "From now on, Eli, my safety is in your hands. Don't worry, Lord. As long as I'm here, nobody will lay a hand on you." Dian Wei grinned, then scratched his head. "The butler took my axes. I need to be armed with them, Lord." "Of course." Ning Fan smiled and called to the door. Lin Yong ordered someone to bring Dian Wei's double axes. Dian Wei held his weapons, becoming an imposing figure, standing quietly to one side, radiating a sense of security and power. "Your Highness. This is bad." Hasty footsteps approached. Lin Yong frowned, about to go out, when a figure burst in, kneeling on the ground, sobbing. "The young master of the Jingguo mansion is here with his army, demanding retribution for his sister." "Your Highness, young Master Li is a notorious bully. You should hide." "Li Yan." Ning Fan instantly recalled information about this guy. They were both second-generation elites in the capital, but from different circles. 3 years ago, Li Yan had followed his father to war. He wasn't as dazzling as his older sister, but he was still a decent general. Now, the Li siblings were back in town at the same time. "Your Highness, young Master Li is known to be a complete hard-ass. Nobody can control him except his older sister. Maybe you should lay low for a while. If he gets too worked up, he might offend you, Your Highness." Lin Bo, standing by, also felt the weight of the situation and offered advice. "No need. He's a guest." "How can I hide?" Ning Fan sighed. He was stuck cleaning up his predecessor's messes. "Great. Let's go meet this idiot from the Li family." Chapter 3. His Highness actually started to reason with others. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing he couldn't change Ning Fan's mind, Lin Yong led him toward the palace. Even before they reached the building, an angry voice boomed out. "So, you mess with my sister and think you can just walk away? Are you a coward? Tell Ning Fan to get out here. The nerve of this bastard, acting like he's untouchable. My sister risked her life for Dayu on the front lines, and she comes home to this? To be tricked and humiliated by this animal? It's disgusting. Even if this goes all the way to the Emperor, you owe me an explanation." Ning Fan stopped, his expression serious. Lin Yong quickly tried to reassure him. "Your Highness, don't pay any attention to that kid. He lost his mother young and was raised by Miss Li. He and his sister are incredibly close. He's just shooting his mouth off. Don't argue with him." Lin Yong's face was etched with worry, afraid the matter would reach the Emperor's ears. That wouldn't benefit His Highness at all. "I know what I'm doing," Ning Fan said calmly, and strode toward the palace gates. He saw a man in armor and a dozen or so guards standing outside Prince Xuanyong's residence. "Ning Fan, come out here, or I'll tear down your Prince Xuanyong's mansion today." Li Yan slowly raised his right hand, ready to order an attack on the mansion, when he saw a group of people march out. The leader wore a white python robe, was strikingly handsome, and radiated confidence. Ning Fan. Li Yan's eyes locked on Ning Fan, and he was instantly consumed with rage. He jumped off his horse, clenched his fist, and charged straight at Ning Fan. "Master Li! Stop!" Lin Yong's face paled, and he started to step in front of Ning Fan, but a hulking figure moved from beside him, swinging an iron fist toward the approaching man. "Protect the innocent." Ning Fan called out. Hearing that, Dian Wei immediately dialed back his strength. The two fists collided with a thud. Li Yan felt his entire arm go numb, as if the bones in his hand were shattered. The force of the blow sent him staggering back several steps before he regained his balance. The massive man in front of him didn't even flinch. "General," the faces of the soldiers behind Li Yan turned ugly, and they drew their swords. The guards of Prince Xuanyong's mansion also stepped forward to protect Ning Fan. "Everyone, hold it," Ning Fan ordered, then turned to the royal guards. "Stand down. You two, back off." "Yes, sir." Seeing Ning Fan stand up, Li Yan ignored the pain in his arm, fixed him with a cold stare, and waited for an explanation. "Master Li, it's really not a good look, mobilizing troops like this," Ning Fan said. "We're in the heart of the capital, after all. If things get out of hand, neither of us will come out ahead. It'll only damage your sister's reputation. I'll give your sister an explanation within 3 days." As soon as Ning Fan finished, Li Yan didn't react, but Lin Yong looked like he'd seen a ghost. Was this really his prince speaking? Usually, the prince would curse a blue streak, no matter who was at fault, then sick his guards on them. But today, he was actually talking to someone. Had he suddenly grown a conscience? "Humph, I'll give you 3 days to see what you come up with. If you don't, even if we're standing in front of the emperor, I, the Duke of Jingguo, won't let this go." Li Yan spat out the warning, cradled his arm, and stormed away. Ning Fan watched him leave, then turned to Lin Yong. "Uncle Lin, find out why the Li siblings came back to the capital." Lin Yong looked stunned. Seeing Ning Fan's serious expression, he quickly bowed. "Yes, Your Highness." Inside the royal palace. The emperor's study, a figure knelt before the emperor, describing in detail what had happened outside Prince Xuanyong's palace, even repeating Ning Fan and Li Yan's conversation word for word. Emperor Yu, who had been reviewing documents, froze. Ink dripped from his brush onto the memorial, but he didn't notice. He looked up at the kneeling figure. "Tell me again what he said." "Yes, Your Majesty." The man bowed respectfully and repeated Ning Fan's words. Emperor Yu listened intently, laid his brush on the inkstone, and murmured, "Did that kid suddenly have an epiphany? No way. Send someone to investigate what happened at Fengxiang Tower. There's more to this than meets the eye. And find out everything you can about that guard of his." Emperor Yu's eyes flashed with intelligence. Li Yan is not one to back down from a fight. To knock him back in one punch. "As you command." The man in black slipped out of the study. Just as Emperor Yu began to write again, he seemed to have another thought. He whispered to the eunuch, "Send someone to Jingguo Duke's mansion with some pearls and jade. Comfort Miss Li." "Understood." After the figure disappeared, Emperor Yu's eyes narrowed. "If nobody is behind this, fine. But if someone is using my son as a pawn." "Humph." A wave of murderous intent rolled through the room, and the temperature in the imperial study seemed to plummet. Xianyong Palace. Ning Fan sat in the central hall, waiting for news from Lin Yong. "Your Highness." A figure strode into the hall, paused briefly at Dian Wei, then bowed respectfully to Ning Fan. "Did you find anything?" "Yes, Your Highness. Li Xiaoning returned to the capital because of an old marriage agreement." "Marriage agreement?" "That's right." Lin Yong nodded slightly. "Years ago, Duke Jingguo verbally agreed to marry Li Xiaoning to the eldest son of Earl Changning. Now, the son is of age, and the Earl brought up the agreement. That's why Li Xiaoning came back." "What does the Li family think?" "Your Highness, I've learned that 3 days ago, Li Xiaoning went to Earl Changning's mansion to call off the engagement." "Earl Changning's mansion?" A trace of hesitation crossed Ning Fan's face. "If I remember correctly, Earl Changning supports my fourth brother." "What are you implying, Your Highness?" It's no secret that Earl Changning supports my fourth brother. If Earl Changning's mansion and Duke Jingguo's mansion marry, it's the same as dragging Duke Jingguo into his camp. How could that happen? With His Majesty at the height of his power and no crown prince named, why would Jingguo get involved in a power struggle? Ning Fan smiled coldly. My fourth brother has always been dull, and Changning Bo is naive. Even if it were a written engagement, do you think Jingguo would agree to it? It was probably just a joke made by the two adults after a few too many drinks, but Changning Bo seems to be taking it seriously. But, Your Highness, what does this have to do with you? Could this be related to what happened at Fengxiang Tower? Lin Yong looked at Ning Fan skeptically. Their second master never cared about politics. He drank, partied, and listened to music. He never showed interest in these schemes, so why now? Chapter 4 Emperor Yu summons and meets with the female general. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lin Chong and his crew were behind the Fengxiang Tower incident. What? Lin Yong's face hardened, a flicker of anger in his eyes. Your Highness, are you saying Lin Chong and his gang set you up? Set up might be too strong a word. More like a honey trap. They even had the sleeping pills ready, just waiting for me to bite. But you suspected they were up to no good, so why did you? Lin Yong looked at Ning Fan cautiously. Ning Fan looked helpless. He couldn't exactly say his past life self was an idiot easily led astray. A gentleman appreciates beauty. Lin Yong was speechless. He knew the prince's tendencies all too well. But Your Highness, why would they do this? Why would they? Ning Fan paused, then said calmly, if I had to guess, it's all about screwing over my dear older brother. Prince Sheng. Lin Yong frowned, then understanding dawned. The Lin and Zheng families are both allied with Prince Sheng. Naturally, they wouldn't want to see the Jingguo mansion side with the fourth prince. So, they want to use you to sabotage the marriage between the two families? That's my guess. Ning Fan nodded, pondering. Still, Lin Qiushi and Zheng Xian shouldn't be that short-sighted. Anyone can see the Duke of Jingguo would never agree to the marriage with the Earl of Changning, so why this charade? Exactly. Could the two families have other plans? Ning Fan shook his head. After a moment, he said, it seems Li Xianing's return to Beijing isn't just about some verbal agreement. Lin Yong agreed. The Li family's eldest daughter commands a large army and holds a key position in the northern border. She wouldn't return to Beijing now without His Majesty's express permission. Ning Fan paused. If I'm right, my father will summon me soon. The imperial edict has arrived. A loud voice echoed from outside the courtyard. Ning Fan's eyes narrowed, and he headed towards the courtyard. By imperial decree, His Royal Highness Prince Xianyong is to proceed immediately to the palace to meet the emperor. So ordered. Your son obeys the order. Lin Yong, standing aside, looked at Ning Fan in awe. Somehow, his party boy prince had suddenly become shrewd and cunning. Imperial study. Emperor Yu reclined on the dragon throne, calmly watching the man in black below. Your Majesty, I've investigated everything. Lin Chong, Prime Minister Lin's son, along with a few other spoiled rich kids, orchestrated the Fengxiang Tower incident, preying on the second prince. Lin Chong prepared the drug beforehand, so it was definitely premeditated. A cold light flashed in Emperor Yu's eyes. Lin Qiushi shouldn't know about this, right? He asked grimly. Your Majesty, it seems the juniors wanted to use Prince Xianyong to tarnish the Li family girl's reputation and ruin the marriage between the Jingguo mansion and the Earl of Changning. Ridiculous. Emperor Yu chuckled, laced with sarcasm. So, the old fox of the Lin family is still clueless? I think, he probably knows by now. In that case, I don't have to send someone myself. Emperor Yu felt relieved. With no crown prince appointed, all the princes were jockeying for position, but lacked any real power. They were just making petty moves. Everything was under his control. However, any meddling from important officials was intolerable. Your Majesty, Li Xiaoning of the Jingguo mansion requests an audience. Announce. Emperor Yu seemed unsurprised. He sat up straighter as a woman in armor, radiating a heroic aura, strode into the hall. General Li Xiaoning pays respects to His Majesty. My dear, please rise. Thank you, Your Majesty. Emperor Yu looked at her with admiration. Li Xiaoning, despite being a woman, was the equal of any man. In just 3 years, she had earned the title of the She-Devil Shura in the northern border, striking fear into the 8 tribes of Mabe. Even without the title of Duke of Jingguo, Li Xiaoning's influence in the army was immense. My dear, what brings you here? Your Majesty, I'm here to apologize. Oh. Emperor Yu raised an eyebrow. My dear, you've won great military victories for our great Yu. I haven't even had time to reward you. What crime have you committed? Your Majesty, today I crossed paths with His Royal Highness the King of Xianyong, and I privately led troops to surround the prince's mansion. It's an unforgivable offense. I beg Your Majesty to punish me. Emperor Yu's face was inscrutable. In that case, why didn't Li Yan come instead of you? Your Majesty, as the eldest sister, I'm willing to take the blame for my brother due to my poor guidance. Ha ha ha. Emperor Yu laughed, waving his hand dismissively. Lord Li, you're not here to ask for punishment. You're here to apply pressure. I already know about the Fengxiang Tower incident, and it's understandable that Li Yan would stand up for you. I absolve her of any wrongdoing. Girl, I'll give you an explanation regarding the Fengxiang Tower incident. You're Dayu's only female general, and you've won great military victories for Dayu. I won't allow a meritorious official to be bullied, even if it's my son. Mistakes must be punished. I've summoned King Xianyong. Don't worry, I won't condone this. Li Xiaoning's face was a mix of emotions. She bowed slightly, remaining silent. Your Majesty, His Royal Highness King Xianyong has arrived. Humph. Have that rebellious son dragged in here? Yes. The eunuch bowed respectfully and quickly left the hall. Soon after, Ning Fan strode in. Spotting the striking figure, his expression changed slightly. Son greets his father. Do you know why I summoned you? Reporting to my father, I believe it's regarding the Fengxiang Tower incident. Ning Fan glanced at Li Xiaoning, responding dutifully. Humph. Ning Fan, you're a disgrace. Emperor Yu exploded, slamming the table and rising to his feet, glaring. General Li has won great military victories for my great Yu, facing life and death at the borders. Now she returns to Beijing only to be bullied by you. You deserve death. Guards. Yes, Your Majesty. Drag this rebellious son away and execute him. Your Majesty. The eunuch trembled, his legs buckling as he knelt on the ground, pleading. Your Majesty, you mustn't. Even though the second prince has erred, he is still of royal blood. Please have mercy, Your Majesty. Li Xiaoning studied Emperor Yu's face, also touched. Even knowing he was playing to the gallery, the resentment in her heart diminished significantly. Your Majesty. Please reconsider. Li Xiaoning stepped forward and bowed, saying earnestly, the second prince was misguided, and I was not harmed. Please spare his life. So, you want me to pardon him? Li Xiaoning thought he was shameless. A shrewd politician, she knew Emperor Yu was using the opportunity to discipline King Xianyong and save face for her. Even if she hadn't interceded, Ning Fan wouldn't have been executed. Now, her plea gave the emperor the face he needed. She hadn't expected him to seize the chance to pardon him. She hadn't wanted her to chop off her son's head, nor did she want him to get off so easily. Chapter 5 Conferring the title, Princess Changning. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dad, I need to say something. Ning Fan didn't panic when Emperor Yu threatened to chop off his head. Maybe, if he played his cards right, he could save himself, he still had those drugs in his pocket, and besides, killing a prince wasn't something the emperor could do on a whim. Someone from the royal family would definitely intervene. Oh. What is it you want to say? Emperor Yu focused on Ning Fan, surprised. About to lose his head, yet the boy showed no fear, not even a flicker of emotion. Something was up. I confess my guilt for what happened at Fengxiang Tower and accept the punishment. Ning Fan said. However, there are hidden motives at play, and I don't want to be anyone's pawn. Please, be aware. Ning Fan's tone was calm and sincere. He couldn't deny the mistakes his predecessor had made. Admitting his faults was better than trying to defend the indefensible. After all, his predecessor's reputation was already trash. People were practically lining up to kick him. Admitting his mistakes felt surprisingly refreshing. Oh, Emperor Yu looked surprised, tapping the table. Being used as a pawn? What do you mean? Whose gun did you fall for? Whose scheme? You're a prince, a first-rank king. Who would dare plot against you? Emperor Yu knew the details of the Fengxiang Tower incident, but wanted to hear what his seemingly foolish son would say. Had he seen through it, or was he just trying to sound smart? Sir, Lin Qiushi's son, Changning, along with other powerful men in the capital, plotted against General Li, using me to do it. They approached me at Fengxiang Tower, offering me drugs to use. They wanted to use me to slander General Li's reputation. Li Xianxia looked at him suspiciously. I have no quarrel with them. Why would they do this? Some people don't want to see the marriage between Chen Yanbo's mansion and Duke Jingguo's mansion. I've said my piece. Do what you will. Emperor Yu stared intently. Guards. Yes, your majesty. Take this traitor and give him 30 lashes. Understood. Several large guards hauled Ning Fan away. Li Xianxia watched, her expression unreadable, a flash of steel in her eyes. Do you know why I called you back to Beijing? Huh? Li Xianxia blinked, then shook her head. I don't, your majesty. Please explain. 2 weeks ago, I received a secret message claiming the Duke of Jingguo was planning a mutiny in the north, intending to raise troops in rebellion. What? Li Xianxia dropped to her knees. Your majesty, I swear, the Duke of Jingguo is loyal to Dayu and to you. If you doubt our loyalty, my father and I are ready to surrender our military titles, resign, and return home. Relax. Emperor Yu smiled. I know Duke Jing's loyalty better than anyone. If he hadn't turned the tide and helped me take the throne, I wouldn't be the emperor I am today. I called you here to draw out the troublemakers. I want to see who's stirring up the pot. Also, I fear someone is trying to alienate and demoralize the troops at the front. Duke Jingguo is stationed in the north and cannot be moved, so I had to recall you. Finally, I have a difficult task for you. Li Xianxia calmed slightly. Your Majesty, give the order. I'll do my best. The Ministry of War has recruited 100,000 new soldiers. The veteran generals are busy at the border. Since you're back, I'll put you in charge of training the new army. Training the troops, Li Xianxia blinked, understanding Emperor Yu's intention. The borders were constantly under attack, and the army needed fresh blood, but, why leave this to me? Shrill screams echoed outside. Li Xianxia bowed respectfully. I accept. Someone. Yes, your Majesty. Announce. Understood. Li Xianxia, the eldest daughter of the Duke of Jingguo, has achieved many military feats. She has protected our country and our people. I am deeply grateful. I hereby name her Princess Changning and grant her silks and a mansion. Li Xianxia trembled, gratitude etched on her face. She knelt to thank him. Thank you for your kindness, your Majesty. Though Ning Fan screamed miserably through the 30 lashes, he was still hopping around afterward. His predecessor must have had connections, because Emperor Yu looked the other way. After waiting outside the palace for half an hour, an eunuch escorted a beautiful figure from the imperial study. he hadn't looked closely before, but now, approaching, Ning Fan realized this famous female general was stunning. Wearing a plain dress, with delicate features, she formed a face that could charm the world. Her eyes sparkled, with a coldness that kept people away. A hint of heroism graced her features. He was intoxicated. "Congratulations, Princess," Li Xiaoning was surprised. She'd just received the imperial decree and title. That Ning Fan, who'd never set foot in the palace, already knew was crazy. "Were you waiting for me?" "I was." Ning Fan nodded, smiling. "How about a walk?" After hearing Ning Fan's remarks in the palace, Li Xiaoning was curious about the notorious prince. After a moment, she nodded. As they left the palace, a dark-faced man approached. Li Xiaoning frowned, stepping in front of Ning Fan. "Your Highness," the man was Dian Wei. Without Emperor Yu's permission, not even Ning Fan's guards could enter the palace. "Is he with you?" "Yes." Li Xiaoning looked at Ning Fan, surprised. The man had strong arms, calloused hands, and a murderous aura. He was dangerous, even bloodthirsty. She thought he was a general. Instead, he was King Xuanyong's attendant. "What's your name, warrior?" "Dian Wei." Dian Wei didn't know who she was, but she was obviously important to walk with His Highness, so he grinned. "Dian, warrior, would you like to serve in the army?" "I'll listen to His Highness." Dian Wei looked at Ning Fan and followed him silently. "Princess, poaching my people in front of me isn't fair." Li Xiaoning met Ning Fan's annoyed gaze and smiled. The day before, he'd schemed against her, and yet, she felt no animosity. Chapter 6: The First System Task. You are listening at novelfull.audio. We've all heard the rumors about King Xianxia, a notorious playboy, bullying, stealing, the whole 9 yards. But meeting him today, he doesn't seem nearly as bad as everyone says. Li Xiaoning watched Ning Fan closely, noting his calm expression, devoid of any shame. "Your Highness," she continued, "you mentioned to the Emperor that someone doesn't want the Duke of Jingguo's and Changnin's mansions to be joined by marriage. Why is that?" Ning Fan chuckled. "Princess, you've been at the front for years, you're out of the loop on capital affairs. Changning is a die-hard supporter of the fourth prince. If the Duke of Jingguo and Changning become family, my fourth brother might actually get a good night's sleep for once. You're saying marrying Changning is the same as backing the fourth prince?" "Exactly." Ning Fan glanced at her. "You might not see it that way, Princess, but everyone else will brand the Duke of Jingguo as being in the fourth prince's camp." "Humph." Li Xiaoning scoffed. "My father and Changning joked about this at a celebratory banquet, but I didn't expect them to take it seriously. Changning was really letting things go to his head. To pick a side so openly. But what about Lin Chong and the others who were misleading your Highness? Who's pulling their strings?" Li Xiaoning frowned, a hint of confusion on her face. Changnin's involvement in the succession fight was surprising, but if the Prime Minister's house was involved, that changes things. Could His Majesty already have a favorite? The princess seems to forget that the eldest daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion is Princess Sheng. And the Ministry of Civil Affairs and the Prime Minister's office are in-laws. Though, this probably isn't the idea of those two old guys, it's likely those idiots Lin Chong acting on their own without telling their families. Ning Fan smirked. Now that Emperor Yu knows about it, the Left Chancellor and the Minister of Civil Affairs won't be able to relax. "I see." Li Xiaoning looked at Ning Fan with newfound interest. Could he really be as clueless and reckless as everyone says? "Well, Princess, I think I've explained things clearly. Sorry for any offense earlier, I'll take my leave now." Ning Fan bowed slightly and turned to leave, eager to get back to studying the system and mastering the 13 deadly guns. "How about a ride, Your Highness? Prince Xuanyong's palace and my Duke Jingguo's mansion are on the same route." Before Ning Fan could answer, Li Xiaoning had already climbed into his carriage. He was surprised. The Duke of Jingguo's daughter, Princess Changning, riding with a notorious playboy? That's unusual. Let's go. With a helpless shrug, Ning Fan nodded to Dian Wei and climbed into the carriage. It was spacious enough, and they sat on opposite sides comfortably. Li Xiaoning seemed relaxed, perhaps because she didn't see the young man as a threat. Princess, what brings you back to the capital this time? Didn't you hear? My father's old promise, of course. Princess, don't give me that. You can't leave the border without the emperor's say-so. Alright, you got me. The court is recruiting new soldiers, and His Majesty wants me to train them. Training troops. Ning Fan was surprised. Just as he was about to ask more, a system notification popped up in his mind. Release system task, troop training, 1. Task time limit, 7 days. Task requirements, within 7 days, convince Emperor Yu to let you train troops. Task reward, general outline of recruit training, 1 unit summoning card, 500 merit points. Ning Fan frowned. He hadn't expected a system task, especially a military training mission. His reputation as a playboy was well known. What would Emperor Yu think if he suddenly asked to train troops? When will you be going to the barracks? The day after tomorrow. Li Xiaoning noticed the change in his expression, a hint of suspicion in her eyes. Why? Were you planning to visit the military camp yourself? Ning Fan's eyes lit up. The chief trainer of the recruits was right in front of him. If he could convince her, or even get her to speak to Emperor Yu, things would be much easier. Princess, I'm very interested in military training. I'll visit your mansion tomorrow for some advice. Oh? Li Xiaoning looked at him curiously, unsure of his motives, but didn't refuse. Soon, the carriage arrived at Duke Jingguo's mansion. Ning Fan was unusually polite. Princess, take care. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, I'll be waiting. After she entered the mansion, Ning Fan returned home and locked himself in his study. Lin Yong was shocked. The prince's study had been untouched since he moved in. Why now? Ning Fan was deep in thought. He had never been a soldier, but he remembered hearing about some modern training methods. He might not know how soldiers were trained in this era, but he could copy some basic fitness routines that would definitely impress Li Xiaoning. He worked for almost an hour, writing over 1,000 words. His handwriting was terrible, but the content was readable. Come here. Yes, Your Highness. Lin Yong rushed in. Seeing the ink and smelling the fragrance in the room, he froze. Was His Highness practicing calligraphy? What are you waiting for? Copy this for me. The handwriting needs to be perfect. I need to show it to the Emperor. Yes. Curious, Lin Yong glanced at the document. His eyes widened. A method of training soldiers? Your Highness, what are you doing? Just copy it. I need it by dawn. And this is top secret. Yes, Your Highness. Seeing his prince doing actual work, Lin Yong was quick to obey, copying the document in the study. Chapter 713 Deadly Shots, Martial Arts Auxiliary Function. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It was just 1,000 words, easily copied over a cup of tea, but Ning Fan's calligraphy was so masterful that Lin Yong spent a full half-hour copying it, constantly asking for pointers. Afterward, Ning Fan gave it a careful once-over. Lin's handwriting was pretty good. Not master level, but definitely eye-catching, at least to him. Not bad. All depends on tomorrow. According to the system, 100 merit points summon a decent hero, 500 a top tier 1, and 1,000 a legendary hero. This system-issued task offered a seriously generous reward without being overly difficult. System, what's the deal with the unit summoning card? Master, it lets you summon special units from Chinese history, even from novels. Whoa. Ning Fan's eyes widened. That meant the elite Qin soldiers, the Wei Wuzu infantry, the Three Kingdoms Tiger and Leopard cavalry, the Xianxia camp, even the dreaded Qihua army that shook the Jin dynasty. The White Horse Volunteers, the Beiwei Army, the White Robe Army, all of them could be summoned. Not just historical units, but units from stories and novels too. Awesome, thought he hadn't even received the reward yet, but Ning Fan was already determined to nail this mission. He had to get that soldier training right. Maybe I should figure out how to get Dad to let me leave the palace. Stuck in the capital, I can't get anything done. If I could get out there and build some power, even if I don't get the throne handed to me, I could still snatch it. But getting him to agree might be tough. Ning Fan knew his unique bloodline meant Emperor Yu wasn't going to let him out of his sight, at least not before deciding on an heir. After mulling it over for a long time, Ning Fan locked himself in his study and started scribbling on paper. Papermaking. Movable type printing. Refined salt purification. Winemaking. Steelmaking process. Glassmaking. Cement. Brick kilns. Curved plow. Are there any time traveler must-haves like horseshoes and stirrups in this world? Gotta keep an eye out tomorrow. Ning Fan added a question mark after horseshoe and kept brainstorming. As a reborn dude with a system, he wanted to show his worth, ditch the system dependency, at least in some areas. But after filling a page, he realized he barely knew anything beyond movable type and refining salt. Damn it, I read too many dumb novels in my past life. I actually thought I could just whip this stuff up knowing the names. I've never worked in these industries. I know some basics, but actually making it happen isn't that simple. Looks like I'm gonna have to lean on the system, Daddy. Late into the night, Ning Fan carefully stashed away the filled papers, wrapped them in an old baby blanket, and hid them where he thought was the most secure place. Feeling exhausted, he stretched and yawned. He felt lightheaded, his ears were ringing, and his palms were sweating, his mouth was dry, his back and knees ached. These symptoms sound like low T. This body is seriously weak. And a good body is the foundation of everything. Time to fight back by getting in shape. Ning Fan shook off the sleepiness, pulled out the 13 Deadly Guns manual from his system inventory, and grinned. The system said mastery of this art could win battles single-handedly. He'd always dreamed of battle, of donning armor, wielding a spear, and charging into enemy ranks, whether in his past life or as the current prince. Now, this dream was finally within reach. Plus, fighting on the battlefield was unavoidable if Ning Fan wanted to get to the top. Opening the manual, Ning Fan saw dense text on the first page. An author's preface to a gun manual. Seriously? Born in the depths of winter, I've fought just to survive since I was a child. People are guided by emotion. 13 distinct emotions, that's how I first realized my gun intention. Glancing at the wall of text, Ning Fan gave up and skipped the preface. The first page of the actual manual was illustrated in color, with detailed text explaining the first gun style. This simple. Ning Fan's eyes sparkled as he studied the diagrams. He wanted to jump out of bed right now and find a spear. The next morning, Ning Fan got up early, which surprised Lin Yong and the other servants. Usually, the second prince didn't crawl out of bed till noon. Your Highness, what are you planning today? Go get Dian Wei. Yes, sir. Ning Fan stretched, did a few jumping jacks in the courtyard, then ordered the guards to fetch a spear. He started practicing one move at a time, following the manual. Whoa. After just a few basic moves, Ning Fan was already drenched in sweat. The first move was called Acacia, and it had 79 variations. Only mastering all of them and being able to blend them together would unlock its true power. Your Highness. What are you doing? My lord. Lin Yong arrived with Dian Wei and saw the prince swinging a spear around like a madman. Alarmed, he rushed forward to stop him. Master, please rest. You'll hurt yourself. Get out of the way. Ning Fan was too into his practice to listen. He swung the spear, and it whistled through the air. Dian Wei watched, his eyes lighting up. My lord, that spear technique is complex. With your current condition, mastering it will be difficult. Hearing Dian Wei's words, Ning Fan deflated like a balloon. His energy vanished, and he threw the spear down. So, is there any fast way to get stronger? Well. Dian Wei looked embarrassed, scratched his head, and said with a smile, "My lord, you have to earn your strength, it is not something you can achieve in a day." Ning Fan paused. He was probably weaker than the average guy, let alone a martial artist. But he wasn't giving up. Kung Fu took time. He'd persevere. He picked up the spear again and continued from memory, only much slower than before. Dian Wei and the others watched silently, refraining from offering any more advice. Lin Yong looked at the prince's slight frame with concern. He didn't know what had gotten into him. He seemed to have changed in the last couple of days. "Ding, the system has detected that you are in a martial arts training dilemma, and has activated the martial arts auxiliary function." Chapter 8 Ning Fan's Attribute Page, Ancient Body Tempering Formula. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A system alert blared, stopping Ning Fan dead in his tracks, and another one popped up in his head. You've gained insights from practicing the 13 deadly spears, experience +1. Experience. Ning Fan's eyes widened in surprise as a light display appeared in his mind, showing some data. 13 deadly spears, beginner, 21 out of 100. System, what's all this mean? Master, this martial arts assistance feature helps you practice. You get experience every time you train, and when it's full, you level up your skills. There are 5 levels: beginner, novice, adept, master, and perfect. So, there are no roadblocks when practicing martial arts. Once I have enough experience, I can master the spear techniques. Exactly. Hearing this, Ning Fan was ecstatic. He'd planned to get a bunch of spear masters to teach him, but now the system was giving him a cheat code to help him train. Let's go. Ning Fan felt like he was bursting with energy and practiced the first move of the 13 deadly spears over and over. You've practiced the first move of 13 deadly spears, experience +1. You've practiced the first move of 13 deadly spears, experience +2. You've practiced the first move of 13 deadly spears, experience +2. As the prompts kept popping up, the numbers in the brackets changed. For a full hour, Ning Fan didn't stop, his clothes drenched in sweat, his arms trembling from holding the spear. Still, he gritted his teeth and kept going. "Second master, please take a break. Even gods can't watch you wreck your body like this. My lord, you gotta take it slow with martial arts. Don't rush." Dian Wei chimed in, looking impressed. "Our lord is definitely going places. That kind of dedication is insane. System, show me the martial arts support page. 13 deadly spears, beginner, 26 out of 100. Looks like it'll take at least 3 days to master this first move. My body's about to give out." Dian Wei's right, too much too fast is never good. I'm guessing that marrow cleansing, bone forging pill is the only reason I lasted this long. Ning Fan slowly lowered his spear, swaying, almost falling. Lin Yong rushed forward to support him, concern etched on his face. "Second master, you alright?" "I'm fine, just need to rest." "Someone, bring some tea to His Highness." Lin Yong helped Ning Fan into the main hall and gave instructions to the servants. Detected that the master has started martial arts training. Scan host stats and open personal page. Yes. Scanning, master, please wait. Name, Ning Fan. Title, Second Prince of the Dayu Dynasty, King Xianxia, top player in U City, valued customer at Fengxiang Tower. Strength, 39, average person, 50. Intelligence, 81, barely above average, combination of both lifetimes. Command, 59, can lead a group of about 50 people. Politics, 61, a pawn in court, manipulated by powerful figures. Magic item, none. Mount, none. Skills, 13 deadly spears, beginner. Summoned hero, Dian Wei. Master is physically weak. I will provide a recuperation gift package. After reading his stats, Ning Fan was stunned. He knew they weren't great, but he didn't think they'd be this bad, so basically, he's barely smarter than average, and only then because he has the intelligence of two people combined. At least he got a care package out of it. System, open the gift package. Congratulations, Master. You've received a bottle of Lu Wei Dihuang pills, a bottle of Sinomorium Gujing pills, a bottle of Jingguo Shinchi pills, and a bottle of Wuzi Yenzong pills. Congratulations, Master, you've obtained an ancient body tempering recipe. Ning Fan was speechless. A care package? More like a boner pill collection. System, Lu Wei Dihuang pills are for yin deficiency, and Sinomorium Gujing pills are for yang deficiency. Which one should I take? Master, the system has detected that you have both yin and yang deficiency. You can take both. Ugh. Ning Fan was speechless. He had enough of this stuff in his previous life, now he's stuck with those darn pills again. System, what does the ancient body tempering recipe do? The recipe is for a medicinal bath that can relax muscles, strengthen bones, open meridians, and improve blood circulation. Take it after training to strengthen your body. Whoa! Ning Fan's eyes lit up. Jackpot. The system was generous, just handing out an ancient body tempering formula. Those things are worth as much as a martial arts manual, if not more. A strong body is the foundation of a martial artist. If you're too weak, like Ning Fan, you can't get anywhere even with the best techniques. This recipe could make him a stronger fighter, which is an enormous win. He knew the recipe was so valuable that news of it might cause a bloody war, so he had to be careful. Lin Yong. Right here, Ning Fan called out. Lin Yong hurried in with a cup of tea. What can I do for you, Your Highness? Take this recipe and have different people go to different pharmacies to get these ingredients. And make sure this recipe stays secret. Seeing Ning Fan's serious expression, Lin Yong nodded solemnly. Second Master, I'll handle it myself, you can count on it. Lin Yong and his mother came from the Great Zhou as part of a dowry. He's loyal and reliable, so Ning Fan trusted him to handle it. While resting, Ning Fan wrote down the method for refining salt and got ready to give it to Lin Yong. A lie. Yes. Get the carriage ready. Let's head to the Jingguo mansion for dinner. Yes. Dian Wei answered respectfully. Ning Fan sat up, feeling sore and achy. Still, to complete his mission, Ning Fan dragged his tired body toward the Jingguo mansion. Chapter 9. The rebellious son of the Lin family visits the Duke of Jingguo's mansion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Leaving the Prime Minister's mansion, inside his study, the Lin family's young master stood before Lin Xiaoxia like a scolded puppy, head bowed and silent. Idiot! Lin Xiaoxia roared, pointing a finger at his son. You're so reckless you dare plot against the second prince? Are you trying to bring ruin on our whole family? Lin Chong looked disgruntled. Father, isn't he just a useless prince the emperor doesn't favor? How dare you? Lin Chong muttered, he's not exactly playing with a full deck. I just dropped a few hints, and the guy actually tried to drug someone. He got caught. You think you're clever, but you're playing checkers while everyone else is playing chess. You think Xianyong is a fool, but what about His Majesty? Lin Xiaoxia's face was grim. Without your meddling, do you really think Jingguo Mansion would ever let their daughter marry into the Changning Marquis family? Do you even know who the Duke of Jingguo is? He's our kingdom's god of war, the guy who helped His Majesty take the throne. He'd never let his daughter marry some nobody. Lin Xiaoxia sighed, his anger fading into disappointment. As Prime Minister, every move I make is under a microscope. And now, thanks to your brilliance, our family's in deep trouble. Father, is it really that bad? Lin Chong asked, his face paling with fear. I just tried to mess with a useless prince, and it didn't even work. If His Majesty suspects I'm involved in the power struggle, it's game over for all of us. Lin Qiushi said with regret. I walk on eggshells every day, afraid of raising suspicion. And you? You managed to offend both Xianyong Palace and Jingguo Palace. He looked at his rebellious son, wishing he could send him back from whence he came. Suddenly, a knock on the door interrupted him. Master, someone from the palace is here. His Majesty requests your presence. At Jingguo Palace, Li Xiaoning greeted Ning Fan personally. Li Yan glared at Dian Wei, scoffed, and turned away. Princess, I apologize for intruding. Nonsense. It's an honor to have you visit. As they entered the mansion, they heard sounds of battle. Before Ning Fan could ask, Li Xiaoning explained, we have a training ground here. The soldiers who returned with me from the border are training. Oh. Ning Fan smiled. Can I watch? You're interested in martial arts. I'm looking forward to leading troops and expanding the territory for our kingdom. Li Xiaoning looked surprised. That's what I call a man's ambition, Li Yan sneered. With your build, you probably couldn't even stay on a horse, let alone fight. Yenner, that's enough, Li Xiaoning said sharply, then turned to Ning Fan. Please excuse my brother's rudeness. Dian Wei silently glared at Li Yan, flexing a fist as a warning. Li Yan flinched, looking at Dian Wei with fear. He has a point. I'm not exactly in fighting shape right now. Ning Fan said, but battlefield victories aren't just about brute strength. They're about strategy, troop deployment, and seeing the big picture. Oh. Li Yan said sarcastically, so you think you know something about commanding armies? I've read a few books. That's all. Let's hear it, then. War is deception. Using troops means adapting to ever-changing situations. You can't sum it up in a few words. Ning Fan smiled mysteriously, and the group arrived at the training ground. Hundreds of armored soldiers practiced fighting. Seeing Li Xiaoning, two burly men strode forward and saluted. General, Li Xiaoning nodded. These are the best of my Changning army. These are my generals, Chu Yang and Zhang Jun. Introduce yourselves to His Highness King Xianyong. King Xianyong. The two men looked at Ning Fan, and their faces hardened. Is this the kid who used those dirty tricks? How dare you? Dian Wei roared, stepping forward. Don't you dare disrespect my master. Who are you? I'm Dian Wei, his bodyguard. So you're this playboy's lackey. Dian Wei flew into a rage, swinging his fist. Chu Yang stepped up to meet him, throwing a punch. Dian Wei looked surprised, while Chu Yang stumbled backward. Seeing this, Zhang Jun jumped in to help. The three fought, fists and palms flying. Li Xiaoning and Ning Fan watched silently. Dian Wei's in trouble. Chu Qi and Zhang Jun are the best in our Zhenbei army. They're a handful for him. Li Yan smiled with satisfaction, glanced at his sister's cold expression, and his smile froze. He stepped forward, bowing his head. Sister. Your idea. I just wanted them to vent your anger for you. Li Xiaoning said nothing, watching the fight. Dian Wei was holding his own against the two generals, but Chu Yang and Zhang Jun were starting to gain an edge. Impossible. Li Yan watched Chu Yang get knocked down. Zhang Jun looked pale and was about to attack. Enough. Li Xiaoning's face was ice. Chu Yang, Zhang Jun, Li Yan, you have violated military regulations. You are hereby sentenced to 50 lashes each and demoted 3 ranks. Chapter 10, Convincing the Princess, and Harmony between the Emperor and his subjects. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Your Highness, I wasn't strict enough with my men and didn't mean to offend anyone. Punish me, please. Seeing Li Xiaoning's sincerity, Ning Fan figured Li Yan was behind this charade. He nodded. The princess has already punished them. What harm did they actually do? Your Highness, care to come inside and chat? That's exactly what I was thinking. Ning Fan nodded with a smile, glanced at Dian Wei, and said softly, Eli, stay put and don't start any more trouble. Yes, Your Highness. Ning Fan followed Li Xiaoning into the hall. After they were seated, two maids served tea. What brings Your Highness here today? Li Xiaoning asked directly. Ning Fan smiled. Didn't I mention yesterday that I wanted to pick your brain on some training methods? Really, Your Highness? Absolutely. A strange light flickered in Li Xiaoning's eyes. Could this notorious playboy be after the throne? Seeing her hesitation, Ning Fan pulled out the soldier training method he prepared from his sleeve and handed it to her. This is what I've learned about training new recruits. I'd like your expert opinion. Oh, Li Xiaoning was truly surprised. She hadn't expected Ning Fan to come so prepared. She was also curious, what kind of training method could this famous layabout have come up with? She opened it, and her eyes widened. She hadn't expected him to have such talent for calligraphy. As she read on, her expression turned serious. Your Highness, did you write this yourself? I did. Ning Fan replied seriously, chuckling. Don't worry, Princess, you're the first to see this training manual. What are your thoughts? Wow, Li Xiaoning looked at Ning Fan in astonishment. She never would have imagined that the notorious second prince had such an understanding of military strategy. She doubted anyone realized how valuable the training methods outlined here were. Some of the ideas were totally new to her, but she knew for sure that every method described was effective. That was her gut feeling after years of military experience, the same feeling that had led her to victory time after time. So, Li Xiaoning fully trusted the training methods detailed on this paper. Someone. Yes. Fetch Li Yan, now. Yes, Li Xiaoning turned to Ning Fan. Your Highness, I'll have Yan test these techniques. Huh, the young master just got a beating. I doubt he's up to it right now. Oh, Li Xiaoning remembered she'd ordered him to be caned 50 times, and looked at Ning Fan, embarrassed. It was just the two of them, and this training method was extremely important. Let's go to the training ground and have the soldiers try it out. After all, if it really works, the novelty will wear off soon enough. Agreed. As they walked towards the training ground, Li Xiaoning stopped and looked at Ning Fan. Your Highness, is this about the throne? She whispered. The throne? Ning Fan was taken aback. He hadn't even considered it. According to Dayu's law, all princes had to be crowned kings at 16, and to become a prince, they needed military achievements. Throughout Dayu, the current princes, besides the two uncles, included his half-brother, King Sheng. Even though Dayu hadn't officially named an heir, everyone at court knew the position had already been decided, the emperor's eldest son, Ning Chen. Ning Chen had been hailed as a genius since childhood. He could read thousands of words at 3, write poetry at 6, and began assisting Emperor Yu in reviewing documents at 9. Later, due to his radical ideas, he clashed with Emperor Yu and was sent to the military at 16. Some thought the emperor's eldest son, who'd been praised since birth, would get lost in the crowd and lose the emperor's favor. But in just 5 years, he'd become a legendary war hero in the Western Territory. Now, at 21, he commanded 100,000 troops, keeping the Western Territory in line in defeating Dian, the strongest country in the Central Plains. Good news constantly arrived in the capital, and Emperor Yu favored him greatly, but because of their differing political views, the appointment had been delayed. Ning Fan's predecessor had gotten along well with this half-brother. The eldest brother was kind to all his younger siblings, never arrogant despite his accomplishments. Ning Fan had been a troublemaker as a child, and his eldest brother had often taken the blame for him. So, the previous Ning Fan remembered his elder brother with both affection and awe. Your Highness, seeing Ning Fan standing there, lost in thought, Li Xiaoning spoke softly. He snapped back to attention and smiled apologetically for some reason, seeing Ning Fan's refined demeanor and gentle manner, so different from the notorious playboy of the rumors. Xianxia found herself becoming very curious about him. Princess, a simple training method isn't going to buy me the throne. Besides, my background means I'm destined to be out of favor with my father. I'm presenting this training method to gain the right to train troops from my father. The right to train. Xianxia's face hardened, and a touch of seriousness appeared. Did King Xianxia want to get involved in military power? Please don't misunderstand, Princess. I just want the right to train soldiers, or to participate in the training of new recruits, so I can personally test this method. Frankly, the method you have is not perfect, or rather, it's a watered-down version, not nearly as good as I imagined. Only after I test it will I know if it's viable. Hearing this, Xianxia's eyes widened in surprise. The training method in her hand was a watered-down version. Even that watered-down version was enough to improve Dayu's soldiers' combat effectiveness by a level or two. How terrifying would the full version be? Imperial Palace. After punishing Lin Xiaoshi, Emperor Yu smiled with satisfaction. The old man had obviously been frightened and made plenty of concessions, even offering to retire and return home. While retirement was out of the question, Emperor Yu had used this opportunity to reclaim a lot of power. Now the position of the right Prime Minister was vacant, leaving the left Prime Minister's mansion in sole control, which held sway among scholars and wielded considerable influence. This had Emperor Yu on edge. Fortunately, the old fox Lin Xiaoshi knew how to yield. Sensing Emperor Yu's concerns and taking the initiative to relinquish power, the old fox Lin was relieved, and Emperor Yu benefited. For a moment, the monarch and his ministers were in harmony and happy. Your Majesty, Princess Changning and His Royal Highness King Xianxia request an audience. Emperor Yu looked surprised. Why are they here? Lin Xiaoshi was equally shocked. Had the Jingguo mansion seen through the rebellious son's plan and brought King Xianxia to complain? Show them in.